About 2 years ago, I did a short on the Crayola Experience and some Crayola trademarks. That video now has over 1,000 comments, so I thought now would be a good opportunity to do a question and answer session. We can learn quite a bit about trademarks from the Crayola Experience. Unfortunately, the Crayola Experience in Plano, Texas did close since I did that video, so you're not able to go there anymore. And I do want to point out that the video stated Crayola is trying to get registration, but they did end up getting a registration on July 2nd, 2024 for the scent of crayon. Here's a comment. Wouldn't a scent follow more under patent law, or are they trademarking the description of the scent? Another comment states, Crayola employee in a soap factory, the sweet smell of copyright infringement. So this is a good opportunity to explain the difference between copyright, trademark, and patent. So patent deals with inventions. Copyright law deals with things like books, movies, television, creative works, and trademarks are source identifiers. So here, what Crayola is saying is that the scent of their crayon identifies Crayola as the source of that crayon. So that's the key difference here. What does a trademark get you? So a couple examples in the comments. Seeing as Crayola did not invent the phrase Purple Mountain's Majesty, they shouldn't be able to hold a trademark on it. Similarly, how are you going to have a trademark on asparagus and wisteria? Those are names of plants. So the names of the colors are specifically registrations for crayons. So using asparagus as an example, that doesn't mean that a camera company couldn't use asparagus or an artist couldn't use asparagus for other goods and services. Trademark registrations apply to the goods and services listed in your applications and any related goods and services. So a couple users noted that BMWs smelled like Crayola. I smelt a smell inside of an old muscle car and it smelled like Crayola crayons. Who knew decaying leather and glue of a classic muscle could smell so nostalgic? Early 2000s BMWs are going to get sued. They smell like crayons for some reason. So the registration for the scent of the crayon applies to crayons. It most likely would not apply to cars. Those are totally separate goods and services. Bro can't believe my wax candle making station at the Renaissance Fair just got sued for smelling like crayons. So it's possible you can make an argument that candles and crayons are related goods and services, but again, keep in mind the registration applies to crayons only. Another comment says, I'm a professional tattoo artist for a living. Now I'm going to custom mix all my colors to match their colors and not pay them a dime. Tattoo services are probably not related to crayons. I also got several comments about the smile. The Crayola logo is a smile? Excuse me, the Crayola what? The Crayola smile? You're telling me that was a smile this whole time? This is the first time I realized that Crayola has a smile. Anyone else today years old when they found out that thing was supposed to be a smile? Was not aware that the little Crayola rainbow was supposed to resemble a smile till today. So as somebody who deals with branding all the time, you kind of see some of those nuances, like specifically the FedEx logo. There's an arrow between the E and the X, which now that you see it, you can never unsee it. But there are other trademarks with smiles that you may not be aware of, specifically the Amazon smile. It's also an arrow pointing from A to Z, but it's a smile. And also IHOP has a smile. Check out the linked video for more about trademark smiles. Somebody says, does Play-Doh have a registered trademark smell? Wait, does Play-Doh have a trademark for their scent? And the answer is yes. Play-Doh actually does have a registration for its scent, which is described as a sweet, slightly musky vanilla fragrance with slight overtones of cherry, combined with the smell of a salted, wheat-based dough. There are some other interesting scents, such as a chocolate-scented store, and also bubblegum-scented slippers. And what about colors as trademarks? So somebody commented that's like Reese's Peanut Butter Cups own a trademark on the specific shade of orange they use on their packaging and merch. That is correct. There are also some other colors that are equally important. We've got UPS brown, we have Tiffany blue. Some other commenters talked about other trademark Crayola could have. Heck yeah, I'd trademark the squiggly lines as well as the green edges. Good news for you, the squiggly lines are a registered trademark. This next person's not going to be quite as happy. I swear, if they trademarked Vivid Tangerine, I'm going to scream. Well, unfortunately, Crayola does have a trademark registration for Vivid Tangerine. I had several comments regarding a Marine Corps buffet. That's a really weird way to say buffet. A Marine's paradise. Marines be drooling right now. Bro went to the U.S. Marine Corps buffet. U.S. Marines salivating while watching this. Those are just a few examples. To be honest, I'd never heard this before, so I don't know if this is a loving joke. I don't know if this is an insult, so I'm going to leave this one alone. There also seemed to be the idea that intellectual property is just for the large corporation and for greed. Trademarks and copyright should be abolished. Trademark is a crime against creativity. IP needs to go. I like to work with startups and young entrepreneurs and small businesses, and I'd like to know that trademarks help protect you as well. So if you were the one who invented a crayon that had a specific smell, and you got a registration for it, you could hold the feet of a large corporation to the fire and say, no, that's mine, I registered that first. It could also give you leverage in a sale or a license. So think more about how this would help your business, not how large corporations will hinder your business. Because if you own your own intellectual property, this will serve you in the long run. Here's a comment that says, fun fact, nostalgic Crayola scent is actually beef fat. This is a really great observation, and I think that's a big reason why the VW cars and the BMW cars and other leather or wax items might smell like Crayola. So the USPTO actually initially rejected the application from Crayola, saying just this, that the smell of the wax is a natural part of the crayon making process. Crayola argued that actually it was part of its proprietary product formulation. Ultimately, this argument prevailed, but there is something to be said about the actual content of the beef tallow in the Crayola crayon that makes it smell the way that it smells. So people said, how is it allowed that only Crayola can have crayons that smell like crayons, like every crayon on earth? All crayons smell the same to me, so I'm not sure trademarking the smell is even possible. However, there was another view, and it says, in all fairness, Crayola crayons do smell different than any other crayons. My wife, as a teacher, has worked with a lot of crayons and can tell you that Crayola crayons very much smell different from other crayons. And if you ever go to a restaurant and open those little packages, they really smell disgusting. So it is something to be said about Crayola crayons smelling unique. It may have nothing to do with the quality of the crayon. In my opinion, at least, they do smell unique. And that raises another question. How can you prove something is the same smell in a court of law? Is there a machine that can objectively measure a smell? Trademarking visual branding makes sense because you can easily hold up a counterfeit to it and say, put green lines on their box to mimic Crayola. How on earth do you prove a smell was intended to mimic anything? Wax has a natural smell. If this was ever litigated, this is something that the parties would have to really wrestle with. They would probably use a combination of experts as well as surveys. So often in trademark litigation, you take surveys of people and say, do these items smell the same? What does this smell remind you of? And things like that. So that would probably be the way that they would show that in court. So one thing that's interesting about Crayola is they've done quite a bit of collaboration. They have some really unique items, such as this camelback Crayola bottle. So the top looks like the tip of a crayon, and it's actually a camelback. Crayola also partnered with Slate Auto, which is pretty cool. This is an electric car company. The cars have specific shades of color. So this might actually go back to the thing we talked about before. Maybe they will be able to have certain color names applied to vehicles as well as just crayons. My favorite Crayola collaboration is these sweet Zildjian drumsticks. I think that's really, really cool. All right, so a few digs at me. I was listening, not watching, and thought you said Listeria. For a sec, I thought they had Listeria as a crayon color. What is a crayon? You're trying to say crayon. What are crayons? Crayon, crayon. I'm saying crayon. They put Listeria in the crayons now? So thank you all for the laughs. I did really enjoy reading through the comments here. And of course, my trademarks are fun. Crayon has to make an appearance. It does smell like Crayola crayons. It's got the squiggly lines on it. You can actually use it. I'm sorry to whoever the store person is if you thought that this is ridiculous. I don't think they really care that much because I did pay for it. During this process, I've linked to a couple of videos that could assist you with additional answers to your questions. So feel free to watch those. Check out my other videos and subscribe. Let me know if you want more question and answer videos. One thing is for sure, trademarks are fun.